Welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. It's Stacey Heine, your holistic nutritionist, plant-based coach, and business mentor. I'm super excited about this episode. I have the one and only Michael Greger from nutritionfacts.org. We are talking how not to age in this episode. And I think that this is such a timely concept and topic because everybody is curious about how to increase their longevity and also how to look their best. And the two go hand in hand. It's a healthy lifestyle, and you're going to hear a lot of other little tips and hacks from Dr. Greger in today's episode. Now, I want to tell you a little bit more about Dr. Greger before I get started. He owns the science-based nonprofit organization called nutritionfacts.org. If you've never been to that website, you need to go now because it is full of the latest in nutrition with research via bite-sized videos, blogs, podcasts, and infographics. He offers a strictly non-commercial public service without any sponsors, ads, or brand partnerships or paid subscriptions. And there are well over 2,000 videos on virtually every aspect of healthy eating. And they're just waiting for you on nutritionfacts.org. I have been following Dr. Greger for years and years. He has an incredible line of books, one in which I fell in love with years ago called How Not to Die. Then he wrote How Not to Diet, and now he has How Not to Age and more. Please lean into this evidence-based nutrition that Dr. Greger spends his entire existence putting together so that we can do things like prevent and reverse the number one killer, which is heart disease, or prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure. These are all things that we really want to make sure we are doing because they are the ailments that lead us to an early grave. Now, we're going to be talking again about how not to age in this episode today. And before we get into that, I want to make sure you know about the new Waterless beauty brand that I found from Europe. It's called Oliveda. It is based off of the olive leaf extract, which is 3,000 times more potent in polyphenols than olive oil itself, and has been proven time and time again on peer-reviewed medical literature to help with gut, to help reduce inflammation, to help reduce viral overload, bacterial issues, and so much more. And I am just incredibly thrilled to be able to share this brand with you because its efficacy is so high. I have been using Oliveda for several months now after learning that the skincare brand that I was using before was based off of mostly water and preservatives with some active ingredients. But that is not ideal. I don't want to be putting on a lot of preservatives on my skin that are pro-inflammatory. And I really want to take a more holistic approach to my beauty, which means I'm going to tackle my beauty from the inside out and the outside in. So not only have I been using these amazing waterless skincare products and hair and body, but I've also been taking some ingestibles that are based off of the olive leaf extract and camu, which is one of the highest vitamin C berries on earth. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the show notes so that you can check out Oliveda for yourself. I highly suggest switching all of your clean beauty over to waterless beauty that is formulated and made in Europe. It's clean, it's safe, and most importantly, it's incredibly effective. I'm using all of my products on my body from Oliveda now. And I want the best results with as close to nature as I possibly can get. And I want that for you too. So lean in on the skincare quiz if you don't know where to start. I'll link that below in the show notes so that you can get 6 recommendations, both topically and internally, that will help you elevate your immune health, your gut health, and then your beauty. If you purchase 2 of the products from the quiz, you will be able to snag a free full-size eye product. So don't miss out on that offer. If you have any questions, you know where to find me, but I really, truly hope you love your waterless beauty and that you enjoy this episode. Without further ado, here is Dr. Michael Greger. Dr. Michael Greger, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. Excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and walking with you today, strolling with you today.
Rolling. You know, it's all because of you that I have my walking pad, and I've been interviewing for like a year now with my walking pad. So I'm very, very thankful that you've influenced me and so many others to get our steps in. So thanks.
I love it. Well, it's my hope to inspire your viewers to live longer, better lives.
Love it. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking mostly about aging, and we're going to talk about your new book. But first, I want to remind you, Dr. Greger, actually, you've met me before, and you might not remember. But I do need to remind you about it because it's actually a hilarious scene. And I actually think it happened about 3 years ago
Okay.
around this time. We were in Fort Wayne, Indiana. You were doing your book launch. Actually, it was more like spring. Anyways, you were doing your book launch for How Not to Die, or just speaking engagement. And I had our son, he was quite young, and I was like dragging our son. He was like 3 at the time. You had come out of one speaking engagement and you were going to another. And I was like, Dr. Greger, and I was running with my phone. And I was like, what are 3 tips you can give us nutritionally? And you were like, looking at me like, who is this crazy girl? And you were like, more beans, greens, and berries. And that was it. And that was my first time that I met you. And it was so embarrassing, but now we're here. And
I love it. I love it.
I'm thrilled to get to talk to you. Okay, so you have this incredible new book. Please tell me how many pages first off it is, because I'm not done. I'm just doing the Audible at this point, and I have to admit I am not fully through it because it is, I'm gonna have to listen to this 10 times.
Not
So long.
not light summer reading on the
No.
pool side. Is this not? Yeah, I think the audiobook's like 25 hours, something ridiculous. It took me 30
Yes.
hours to record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's over 600 pages, 13,000 citations. It's just a monster. It's actually the biggest project I've ever took on. I did not realize going into it how much longevity literature there was out there, and I really wanted to cover everything. And so to do that, it's going to be a big book.
Yeah. And I heard you with your interview with Chuck Carroll from the Physicians Committee, and you were saying how the book was actually double the size, but
Yeah.
instead of being able to put all of that out, the publisher made you make it half that size, and instead you have recordings, links to recordings and scientific notations for all of the elaborate explanations throughout the book. So I love it how you're like, reference this video, reference that video. It's very helpful for anybody that just wants to know the science behind everything you're explaining. So
yeah, hundreds of new videos just for the book created to kind of basically show my work. And so all the bottom line recommendations are still in the book. But if you want to know like how exactly I got there, why do I support this supplement, not this supplement? I say, for all the science here, go to this link, check it out. And some people love that. I mean, I geek out on all that stuff. Other people are like, look, I already trust you, just tell me what to do, kind of thing. And they don't want to go through pages of that. And so it's perfect. And so it's there if people want it, but it doesn't kind of muddy people up, get people too lost in the weeds on the way.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. It's very helpful. So I appreciate all of that. I want to actually break down, since this book is so loaded, since aging, you said you were surprised to find so much literature on the art of anti-aging, right? And just how to protect our bodies, and our skin and all of the body parts, to, be really good for a long time, to thrive for a long, long time. Now, I am actually going to ask you, I'm going to break down my questions today with 5 pillars that I actually teach. And
nice.
I teach just pillars of, these are my pillars. The Urban Pharmacy is my brand. And I teach 5 pillars of holistic living. Their body nourishment, belief system, honoring earth, success environment, and mind-body connection. And within all of those, there's a lot that we can cover. So I want to start with the first one, body nourishment. So I feel like this will probably take a majority of the time, because there's a lot of things that go into this. Dietarily, where can we start to hone in on anti-aging benefit? Like, what can we do dietarily to start? Just where can we start?
So based on studies of identical twins, only about 25% of the difference in lifespan between individuals is due to genetics. So the question then becomes, okay, what can we do over the majority of which we may have some control? And so that's where we turn to the blue zones, right? So these are areas of exceptional longevity around the world, where more than 100 dietary surveys have shown that they center their diets around whole plant food. So minimizing processed foods, meat, dairy, sugar, eggs, while maximizing fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes like beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils, nuts and seeds, mushrooms, herbs and spices, basically real food that grows out of the ground. These are really our healthiest choices.
Mhm, mhm. So we're focusing on phytonutrients, on plant nutrients. Now you mentioned beans, greens, and berries the first time that I met you. And can you tell me a little bit about each one of those categories? Beans, why are they so good for longevity?
Yeah, so according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, which is the largest systemic analysis of risk factors in history, the number one cause of death in these United States is the American diet, bumping tobacco to number two. Cigarettes not only kill about 500,000 Americans every year, whereas our diet kills many more. And the question is, okay, what's the worst things about our diet? Well, in terms of diminished life expectancy, the number one thing that we're doing wrong is not eating enough legumes like beans. Number two is not eating enough whole grains. Number three, not eating enough nuts. And so three of the top five are things you're not getting enough of. And then number four is eating too much meat. Number five is drinking too much soda.
Mhm.
Of course, it doesn't matter what you eat in your birthdays, holidays, special occasions. It's the day-to-day stuff that really adds up. But in terms of, well, wait a second, like, what is it about beans that's so good for us? Well, this is presumed to be because they are our most concentrated source of prebiotics, like fiber and resistant starch, which feed the probiotic, good bacteria in our gut, like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, to make beneficial postbiotics, like butyrate and acetate, which can then get absorbed through the colon into our bloodstream, circulate throughout our body, actually cross the blood-brain barrier, and reduce inflammation, boost immunity, improve muscle strength in frail individuals. So legumes certainly rule the roost on a per serving basis, though on an ounce per ounce basis, actually nuts are associated with the lowest risk of premature death compared to any other food group. So I recommend about a palmful of walnuts a day.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where the beans come in.
Mhm.
The greens, dark green leafy vegetables, earn their kind of part in the what I call my anti-aging eight
Mhm.
as the vegetable most associated with a longer lifespan. And we think it's the nitrates. The nitrates in greens can improve age-related declines in muscle and artery function and slow our metabolic rate, something you typically only see with severe caloric restriction. But
Mhm.
instead of walking around starving all the time, you can just eat a big salad. And
Mhm.
then this sulforaphane, which is a phytonutrient found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, can
Mhm.
improve immune function and boost the kind of detox enzymes in our liver and airways. And then the third that I mentioned on the sidewalk there in Indiana is berries. So berries are in their place as the fruit most associated with a longer lifespan. So I talk about the benefits of amla, which is dried Indian gooseberry powder, and the anthocyanin pigments in berries. They're thought to account for the benefits for cognitive function, eyesight, inflammation, blood sugar, artery function, cholesterol. These are all interventional trials, randomized controlled trials, proving berries have these beneficial effects. Um, though they do get these anthocyanin pigments, the pigments that make berries such bright, brilliant colors, they do get cleared from our bloodstream within about 6 hours, though. So I recommend dosing every meal with either berries, like so perfect dessert for each meal, or some of the kind of savory sources of these same pigments, like hibiscus tea, has those same brilliant anthocyanins, or purple cabbage, purple sweet potatoes, those kinds of foods, ideally 3 times a day.
Hey, we'll get right back to the episode in a second. But before that, I have a question for you. Have you ever wished that you could eat more whole food plant-based, but also enjoy the comfort food recipes that you have grown to adore? Well, I have the solution for you. All you have to do is click down in the show notes to grab my free 14 comfort food recipes that are sure to leave you satisfied without feeling guilty, heavy, or fatigued after you eat. You're going to love these recipes. They're simple, they're wholesome, they give you the nutrition that you need, and you have no bad blood sugar imbalances. They aren't going to spike your cholesterol, and your blood pressure will stay stable as well. I hope you enjoy them. Again, just click down in the show notes on my free comfort food recipes, and I'll send them straight to you. All right, back to Dr. Greger. Yeah, I remember when it was a lecture at the PCRM conference, and you were talking about, like how one of the main reasons why we're dying early is because we're not eating enough whole grains. And that you said is the second reason. So it's not enough beans, not enough whole grains, not enough nuts and seeds, too much meat, and too much soda. So whole grains, we need to just, I think more out of the box. What do you think? What are some of your favorite whole grains?
So a great way to start the morning is oatmeal. So oatmeal, rolled oats are a whole grain, but even wholer, if that's holier, would be steel cut oats, which are the oat groat chopped into 2 or 3 pieces. And then even better than that, we're talking grad school level, right? The next level is to actually eat the oat groats themselves. That's before they're rolled into rolled oats or before they're cut into steel cut oats. And so you get oat groats, you can buy them super cheap. And probably the easiest way is do it in a electric pressure cooker, like an Instant Pot. And 25 minutes, they're done. And so delicious, so chewy. I encourage people to try oat groats. You will never go back to mushy oatmeal. I mean, it's so, you actually prefer, so it's nice that the healthiest way to eat it, because it maintains all those prebiotics that deliver, no matter how well you chew, you're going to get little bits feeding of prebiotics, feeding your good gut bacteria. The healthiest form of oats actually is the tastiest as well.
Yeah, I love whole rye.
Oh, fancy.
Oh my God, it's so good. Like change your life. You can make a salad.
So, yeah. Oh, I see. So just rye berries, like
I learned
salad?
that from Barefoot Contessa Ina Garden. She didn't use rye. She used just whole wheat berries. She made a wheat berry salad. And I'm like,
Nice.
well, I could use any whole grain and rye berry salad. Rye berry salad, we're going to call it that.
And rye actually has, I believe, the most dietary fiber compared to any other whole grain, or at least any other common whole grain. So yeah, so actually that's rye is part of my Brol mix, my prebiotic mix, right, which is barley, rye, oats, and lentils. Too. So yeah, rye slips in there. So yeah, absolutely, that's a fantastic grain.
We're talking about starch. So let me just ask you this question. And this might be common knowledge. I don't know. I know that when we refrigerate our potatoes and our sweet potatoes and our rices, it's increasing the resistant starch, which also does increase the prebiotic fiber. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Now, this is refrigerated cooked.
We cook first, right, and then we refrigerate.
Yeah.
Does the same thing happen with beans when we cook and then refrigerate them?
So beans naturally have the most resistant fiber. So there is actually a little bump, but they're so rich in resistant fiber, you really don't have to even do that. Whereas, for example, most of the starch in a potato is rapidly digested, and so absorbed in your small intestine, digested in the small intestine, doesn't make it down to the colon. And so, right, by taking your cooked potato, putting it in the fridge, making like a potato salad or something, and you do the same thing with pasta. Then you actually get this resistant starch, resistant to digestion in our small intestine, so it makes it down to the colon to feed our good gut bugs. But beans come with resistant starch already in there, awesome. And so you don't have to go through that step.
Okay, cool. I know we're limited on time, and I'm like, okay, I have so many things I want to ask, but we're still underneath the body nourishment thing. Now, body nourishment isn't just dietary. It's not just food. Body nourishment to me is also taking care of our well-being, sleeping. Can you talk about sleeping and longevity?
Sure. No, absolutely. It was actually one of the kind of surprises that I had, was the role of sleep and longevity is actually surprisingly controversial. What's not controversial is the role of getting adequate sleep, defined as 7 hours a night, for immune health. In fact, you can take people getting different amounts of sleep and drip a cold virus into their nose as part of a study, and you're 5 times more likely to actually show symptoms of the cold if you have been getting less than 5 hours of sleep compared to more than 7 hours of sleep. And so there was 100% infection across the board. They literally had the virus dripped in their nose. But most people who were getting enough sleep didn't even know it. They didn't experience any symptoms because their body's immune system was so good, wiped out the virus before it even caused the first sniffle. And so that's why, particularly during respiratory illness season now, it's important to get enough sleep.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on, and we'll probably weave body nourishment back in, but let's move on to belief system. Now, to me, this has a lot to do with like mindset, and also some people will for sure think of religion. Is there anything with religion? Like, we're seeing in the blue zones, isn't that kind of a common theme in longevity?
Well, certainly there's only one blue zone that's actually existed to the current day. So, we tend to think of like, oh, there's Mediterranean and there's like Okinawa and stuff, but no, we're talking 50 years ago. There was a blue zone. Now it's, as much KFC as anybody else. In fact, Okinawa was actually the kind of the part of Japan actually with the highest obesity rates now. Very tragic.
So sad.
But there's only one blue zone that exists in the modern era, and that is the California Loma Linda Adventist blue zone. And they have they have a religious tradition of treating the body as a temple. And so that's part of their religious teaching is to not smoke, to eat healthy, blah, blah, blah. And so the question is, well, what role does the faith actually play? And so there's some interesting studies. They compared the Adventists to Mormons, for example, right? So people with deep faith, but different dietary lifestyle habits, right? So would you still get kind of the benefits? And then you can also do studies where you put people with no faith on an Adventist lifestyle, and you see if they get the same kind of benefits. And indeed, that is what you see. So there was this CHIP program, the Complete Health Improvement Program, which was started by the Adventist Church, which is this community all-volunteer program. It's a beautiful thing. In fact, it is the most well-published community public health intervention in the medical literature. Tens of thousands of people have done this program. And so it had this kind of origin from the religious sphere. It was really just like, how to take better care of yourself. These are the best foods to eat. This is the best way to take care of yourself. And they saw the same benefits in terms of before and after measures of cardiometabolic health, whether or not the people were religious or were not religious. So the key ingredient seems to be the lifestyle. But if that religious motivation leads you to the lifestyle, then you can say, well, it's the religion that does it. So I don't care how people get there.
Right.
Like if Jesus is telling you to eat healthy, or if little green men from Mars are telling you to eat healthy, as long as you're skipping the donuts, I'm fine with you.
Awesome. And so under belief system also is mindset. So to me, this is just trying to stay positive. This is trying to stay out of the depressive state. So let's just talk about depression. Does depression reduce our longevity? Does positivity and increase it?
So stress, depression, anxiety is associated with a shortened lifespan, but it's mediated through changes in lifestyle behaviors. So for example, bereavement stress, the reason why spouses often die shortly after their other spouse dies is because people start drinking. People start smoking, start doing illicit drugs, start eating worse food, and stop taking care of themselves. If you control for those factors, you don't see any association between stress, for example, and diminished lifespan. It's all mediated by lifestyle. So no matter how stressed you are, no matter what your circumstances are, as long as you're able to maintain that lifestyle, maintain a healthy lifestyle, you will reap the benefits of that lifestyle. And so I think that's an important message to impart to people.
Thank you. Okay, on to honoring Earth. This might seem weird to you, but to me, it's a pillar of holistic living. We do lots of gardening. We're organic farmers. I want to know, does being outside, does getting our vitamin D, does forest bathing, does connecting and growing herbs, like, does this help our longevity? There's a lot of things I just threw at you, but
Yeah, no, there's all sorts of benefits from being outside. Primarily the circadian benefits of early morning exposure to full spectrum light. So going out in the morning, exposing yourself, no matter how bright the lights are, the lights at night can screw up your circadian rhythms, but the light is not bright enough. Indoor lighting is not bright enough to kind of reset to start out your circadian rhythm strong. So getting outside in the morning, particularly important. And of course, throughout the day, that sun also provides vitamin D. I have these videos on forest bathing, this remarkable video showing you can get significant improvements in natural killer cell activity. These are our first line defenses against new budding cancers and viral infected cells, and you get a significant boost. And they're like, what is it exactly about being in nature that does it? And it appears to be these phytoncides, these wood aroma molecules that are produced by trees, like pinene, like the smell of pine, the smell of cedar, and so that appears, and so you can actually do experiments where you lock people in a room and you just expose them to these wood essential oils, and you actually see the same benefits in terms of boosting natural killer cell immunity. So even if you are stuck in some, godforsaken hellhole like New York City, and you can't get to Central Park, there's
yes.
still ways you can get at least some of the benefits.
Awesome. Love it. How about mind-body connection? What about movement, exercise, meditation? Do these help our longevity?
Oh my God, exercise critically important. In fact, that's a kind of a big section of the book, as well as weight control. The evidence supporting the overall health benefits of exercise just overwhelming, improving not only muscle mass and strength and balance, mobility, preventing falls, but improving cognition, enhancing mood, treating depression, improving artery function, erectile function, insulin sensitivity, overall quality of life. Though interestingly, the link with lifespan, not necessarily health. So health span absolutely benefits are undeniable.
Yep.
But links between exercise and lifespan are actually surprisingly controversial in the medical literature, and I go deep into that controversy.
Okay. And then how about success environment? The people we have around us, not just people, but also just the environment, pollution. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go underneath this pillar, but what do you have to say about it?
Oh yeah, no, I have a whole section in the book talking about air pollution. It's actually a leading killer of humanity. And talk about what you can do even if you don't have the luxury of being able to move. And look, these days, given our climate, you can move to the most pristine area and you'll get some wildfire smoke coming down from Canada or something, and you can have terrible air quality no matter where you live, even if you get out of a city environment and you're getting away from that diesel exhaust. And so there are things we can do. So I talk about various filters you can use if there's particularly bad days, but dietarily, you can eat these cabbage family vegetables, broccoli family vegetables, because the sulforaphane so boosts the detoxification enzymes within your airways that you can actually do these crazy experiments where they drip diesel exhaust into people's noses, equivalent to being exposed to hours of like LA traffic. And then they randomize people to broccoli sprouts or alfalfa sprouts, which is kind of like the control group, and see significant decreased inflammation caused by the pollutants in the broccoli sprout group. And they also boost our liver detox enzymes. And so, if you're going to go to some barbecue, and, eat some, grilled meat, which has these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or some processed meat, eating broccoli even up to a week before, so boosts your liver enzymes that you're able to detox, not as much, of course, as choosing the veggie option, but at least it'll help mediate some of the damage. Same thing with smokers. Significantly less DNA damage in smokers who you can randomize to eat broccoli. Of course, not as low DNA damage as those who don't smoke at all.
Yeah. And you talk about other environmental toxins as well, outside of just air pollution, right? That we can protect ourselves.
Yeah. Mostly, talk about in the fish chapter, unfortunately our oceans are just essentially become kind of humanity's sewer. Everything eventually flows into the sea. So, the aquatic food chain really has the highest levels of chemical pollutants like DDT and PCBs and dioxins, heavy metals like mercury. So I talk about, it's still better to eat a tuna sandwich than a bologna sandwich, but, hummus wrap would be even healthier.
For sure, for sure. Do you have a few more minutes before we have to go?
I've got 4 minutes.
Okay, cool. I have we covered the pillars. Everybody just needs to get the book because it's so jam-packed. It's just jam-packed. Again, I will probably be listening to it for the next year. That's just the way I roll. I love the Audible book. So I love the fact that you read it. Really,
Of course.
I'm so thankful for that. I can just imagine you like sitting in a room like, okay, I'm going to record for 8 hours today. Is that how you
brutal,
did you
brutal.
do it?
One of these days, AI will take over. But until then.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a question about. Do you know a lot about alorapin or hydroxytyrosol or hydroxytyrosol, however you say it, in the olive tree? I mean, I know that that's what like olive oil has been studied for so long. But do you know very much about that?
This is one of the phytonutrients that are found in olives, which explain why you can see significant benefits from switching people from regular olive oil, which is refined, to extra virgin olive oil. So they're eating the same amount of calories, same amount of oil, but just getting more of the phytonutrients. If you look at extra virgin olive oil, you can see the nutrients, the green pigments. You can taste the phytonutrients, those extra compounds, because it's basically the first pressing of the olive. And so just doing that swap, you can see significant benefits. We saw that in the PREDIMED study, one of the largest randomized controlled dietary studies in history. And that is, we're not exactly sure which one of the compounds, or maybe it's a synergy of, a constellation of compounds within kind of the whole food. That's why if you're going to choose an oil, you definitely choose extra virgin olive oil over a refined oil, like refined olive, regular oil.
Yeah. And then also you mentioned amla. Now, do you mention camu? You don't mention, I don't remember you mentioning camu in your book. Do you talk about it?
I don't think so.
Do you know about camu? It's really high in vitamin C.
I'm just
it's also known as the youthberry.
Manuscript. Nope, I got nothing on camu.
What? Oh,
I don't even have anything on single camu.
Oh, it's CAMU. Okay. I thought that, and it's also known as the youthberry, but I'm pretty sure it's up there with like amla.
What does it do?
Well, it's one of the highest vitamin C berries.
All right, I will. I thanks to you, thanks to this conversation, I'm going to add it to my topics list for my next batch of videos.
Thank you.
So you are going now, assuming there's any research out there, but if there's research out there, I'm going to do a video and you can brag to all your friends that this video exists only because of you.
Well, I influenced Dr. Will Bolsowitz to eat, and Dr. Furman to eat onion sprouts. They've never had onion sprouts. Have you had onion sprouts?
I've never had onion sprouts.
Okay, well, your life's going to change. I mean, because if we think about the sulforaphane content in the broccoli sprouts versus the broccoli, can you imagine the allicin?
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, come on now.
So how do you sprout it? Like just a mason jar, like broccoli sprouts?
Well, I've chatted with Doug Evans. Do you know about Doug Evans? You know, the Sprout Man. I feel like
I do know the Sprout Man. Yeah, I know him as the Sprout Man.
Yeah, he lives out in the desert, in a yurt. They're very hard to sprout, so you have to make sure you get really good.
You're killing me. Like a sprout bag or something?
Your life will change. No, just do the regular ball jar like you would a broccoli sprout.
Right.
Just going to take a lot longer, and you need to rinse them twice a day. So give them 14 days. I know that it sounds crazy.
That sounds like a lot. But are they super spicy?
No, they're just, yes, a little bit, but they're so delicious and sweet.
Sounds delicious. All right. Unfortunately, I got to run, but thank you so much.
Take care.